important editorial. What is it about? G20 summit in Delhi. But we'll start with the vocabulary. What is the first word? Consensus. A familiar word. What does it mean? A general agreement. But put a star mark, the first word. You may ask, sir, why is it important? A familiar word. It goes with common errors. Please write this. Unanimous consensus. A lot of people say this. Unanimous consensus. Wrong. Consensus means unanimous. All agree together. Then you should not say unanimous consensus. Do you understand what I say? Unanimous means what? Without any difference of opinion. Consensus also means the same. They all agree. Strike off the word unanimous. You should never say unanimous consensus. Wrong combination. I hope you guys got it. Yes or no? What is the next one? Hinge. Hinge has two different meanings. One, here you write noun. As a noun, it goes with everyday English. Imagine, I'm not an artist. Imagine this is a door. This is an entrance. The door is fixed to the entrance using a few metal pieces. Have you got an idea? Because of those metal pieces, you can open the door, close the door. Those metal pieces are called hinges. As a noun, you can use a plural form. What is the word? Hinges. Goes with everyday English. Windows, doors, we use hinges to fix. Or as a verb, what is the meaning? To depend on. Hinge on something means depend on something. Truce, an important word we have got for the first time. The word truce goes with war. Imagine two countries are fighting. At some point they realize they need a break or they have to stop because they're losing the manpower, soldiers, or depleting resources. Then they announce a truce. Truce means what? They come to an understanding. We should stop fighting for 1 week or 10 days, temporarily. That is called truce. An agreement to stop fighting, especially temporarily. And write the combination word, it goes with war. War, we use the term truce. Fractious, two different things. But here what is the word? Fractious. You all know the word fraction. Part of speech verb, but it could be a noun, adjective. Please write adjective. Of a group or organization. Difficult to control, unruly, not easy to control. Underline the word unruly. Very difficult to control. An important word. Next word is again very important. What is the next word? Egalitarian. This you may get in the exam. They have given many a time. Because there is a concept called, next to the word you write society. Egalitarian society is a popular concept. They have given passages many a time. Mind you, I would like to reiterate, you may get a passage on the concept egalitarian society. What does it mean? Believing in or based on the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. That is not practically possible. That's why we haven't come across, around the world, you don't come across an egalitarian society. Are your 5 fingers same? 5 fingers are not the same. How can you expect the society to be all members of a society at one level? Impossible. It's only a concept, but an important concept. They have given as a passage many a time. Preeminent. Already have got the word eminent. If you remember, what does it mean? I usually give the combination eminent scientist. Outstanding, successful, distinguished. So preeminent. Surpassing all others. Underline the word distinguished. Very distinguished in some way. More or less the same. Preeminent, eminent. But usage is different. Preeminent, before something. Pre means what? Underline the prefix pre. Pre means what? Before. Before you do something, something is important. That's what it means. Hamstring, it goes with biology, right? Biology. To be very specific, you can write the word muzzle. You all know the word calf muzzle. Calf. Calf has two different meanings. One meaning young one of a cow. If you take a cow, what is the young one of a cow called? Calf. But we have calf muzzle. If you take your leg behind your leg, there is a calf muzzle. And that is an important muscle. There is a specific muscle called hamstring. What part of speech is it? Actually, it is a noun. Please write noun. As a noun, it is not important, hamstring. And once a hamstring is pulled, the person becomes a cripple. I have just used one word. What is that word? What does it mean, cripple? Cripple means you cannot function. It can be, write two words, mental cripple. He became mentally a cripple. Or it could be physical. Sometimes what happens after an accident, someone cannot walk. Then we say he became a cripple after the accident. Sometimes because of a shock, someone cannot think properly. Then we use mentally crippled. I hope you guys got it. Let us go to that word. In this context, what does it mean? To limit the amount of something that can be done or the ability or power of someone to do. In a way, same meaning. You are restricted. Your power is controlled. Hamstring. Past form, hamstrung. Next one, headwinds. Part of speech, noun. A wind blowing in the opposite direction to the one you are moving in. You are moving in one direction, opposite direction wind. Easy to resist or difficult to resist? Difficult to resist. Opposite winds, difficult. You go with the winds, easy. So contextually, that's what it means, something difficult. Part of speech, noun. Put a star mark, the next word. What is the next word here? Exacerbate. They have given in bank exams many a time under vocabulary. Already something is bad. You make it worse. To make something that is already bad even worse. From bad situation to worse situation, exacerbate the situation. An important word. Write the combination situation. Situation. Is there noise here or from outside? Noise from here. One of the fans. Okay. Also write situation, write the word scenario. What is the spelling of scenario? Usually I use a present scenario, if you read the newspaper also, current scenario, and here you can use this word as well, situation, scenario. What is the next word? Put a star mark. Already we have got. I hope you guys feel these words are familiar. You have to feel. Otherwise you are not trying to register these words. See what happens when we start. I started in the month of May, I suppose. May or June, whatever. About 2 months are over or 3 months are over. And initially imagine you got about 15 new words. Now slowly what should happen, the number has to come down. 10, 5. What is the reason? Many a time you got the word forge. Then it's not a new word, familiar word. You know the meaning. Do you understand what I say? That is the main objective. Initially 15 new words, meanings of which you don't know. Slowly the number has to come down. We got the word forge. Tell me why is it important if you remember. Is it usually it has a positive connotation or a negative connotation? Forged documents, forgery, negative. Usually forgery is what? Negative. But here as a verb, look at the meaning. To suddenly and quickly move forward. One meaning. Also write another meaning. Produce something. Produce something. That is a positive meaning. Produce something. But it has both a negative connotation, a positive connotation. What is the next word? Tenuous, an important word, put a star mark. They have given in bank exams many a time. A weak and possibly does not exist. Tenuous argument means what? Weak argument, perhaps the idea is not there. Sherpa, those who know about mountaineering, they know this word. Sherpa goes with mountaineering. When you go, you all know the adventure sport mountaineering. When you want to climb Mount Everest, On your own you cannot do it. What is the reason? Unfamiliar terrain. Unfamiliar terrain. But if you take Sherpas, they live in and around the Himalayas. They know the terrain. They guide you in which direction you have to go, where not to go. And those are known as Sherpas. And if you, who climbed Mount Everest, the first person to climb, two persons, one is Edmund Hillary, the other one Tenzing Norgay. Tenzing Norgay is Sherpa. He guided Edmund Hillary. You got the meaning? But look at the meaning over here. Sherpa noun, an official who makes preparations for or assists a government representative or important delegate at a summit, meeting or conference. Someone who assists whenever there is an important summit, government appoints someone, his job is to assist. We call that person Sherpa. Nothing to do with the actual regular meaning. I hope you guys are with me. What is the next word? Valiant. Put a star mark. Very brave or bravely determined. Simply you remember very brave, valiant, valor. From that you get the word valiant. Colossal, also an important word. Part of speech adjective. What does it mean? Extremely large. You have to recollect words like Herculean, mammoth, colossal, huge, enormous. They all mean the same. Legacy, I am sure you all know. What does it mean? Something that is a part of your history. You have been getting for centuries down the line. That is Indian legacy. Familiar word. Those are the words. Now we'll go to the editorial. As I said, this is an important editorial. Tell me, why is it important? One is, it is G20. It is an alternative to G7. Not exactly, to some extent. And who is heading this group right now? India. Obviously, it becomes more important. How does it start? Building consensus. Consensus means what? General agreement without any discord, without any disagreement. And what is the common error? Unanimous consensus wrong. Consensus means unanimous. Building, they have to build consensus among the countries, member countries, on the G20 summit in Delhi, India's presidency. Two things, one the summit, the other India's presidency. What is the main idea behind? The success of the G20 summit hinges on. Now in this context, hinges on means what? Depends on. Very good. On what? A truce among fractious parties. Here underline the word parties. Parties means nations, not the regular party. Here parties means countries. Okay. So fractious countries, those who are difficult to control, those who are unruly, they have their own agenda. And truce among means some sort of agreement, understanding, compromise among the, underline the preposition among. Among goes with two or more than two. So easy to make out. There are two things over here. Main idea is a truce among fractious countries. India's big moment, underline India's big moment, one unit. Your big moment will come next year. When will it come? When you get a selection, when you come here, you receive the memento, everyone talks about you, that is a big moment. India's big moment as host of the G20 summit. Underline the word host. Tell me immediately, what is the opposite of host? Please write the word hostess. Air hostess. Host. Host has many meanings. What is the opposite? I give a party to all of you. As an example, I am the host. What are you guys called? You are my guests. This is a typical meaning. But today, because of the advent of broadcast media, electronic media, we use words like, first you write the word anchor, then you write the word host, then you write the word compare, then you write the word MC, both capital letters. I will tell what they stand for. Today, if you take a TV program, there is a lady or a man who talks about the program, interviews a particular person. What is that person called? You can say anchor, you can say host of the program, you can say compere. But there is a subtle difference between the first two words, the third one, and the fourth one. Anchor, host, you can use television programs. When it comes to compare, if there is a function over here, someone takes a mic and talks about the program, then we don't use the word anchor, we don't use the word host. What is the word we use? He is a compere. Generally our success meets, our English faculty, Naresh sir, does a comparing. You all know that. Don't look at me like that. Have you attended our success, any of our success meets? That's why you looked at me like that. Whenever we have a success meet here, our English faculty, Naresh sir, does the comparing. Means what? He invites a chief guest, he invites the distinguished personalities, he invites the students, he conducts the entire program. So what is the word? Compare. And MC, who has defense background here, from defense families. So if you go to defense people, they don't use the word anchor, they don't use the word host, they don't use the word compare. They use MC. What do the letters stand for? Please write. Master of Ceremonies. They all do the same thing. MC means Master of Ceremonies. This goes with the defense people, Air Force, Army, Navy. Whenever there is a function, they don't use the word compare. What is the word they use? He is the MC. Let us go to. So India's big moment as host of the G20 summit will arrive this weekend. When is it starting? Is it today or tomorrow? Will arrive means the future. When is it? 9th. Okay. So today is what? Underline will arrive. Which tense is that? Saturday, Sunday, weekend. So, this weekend, as world leaders gather in New Delhi, already they have gathered, many of them, for the main event marking the year of its presidency. This year India is heading the whole group. So, year of its presidency. Underline the year of its presidency, 1 unit. The group is seen, underline the word group. Tell me immediately which part of speech is it? Noun. Which type of noun is it? That is the actual question. Collective noun. Please write collective noun. Collective nouns take singular verbs or plural verbs? Usually singular. When do they take a plural verb, plural pronoun? If the sentence denotes a division. Here the group is seen. Underline is seen. Answer immediately. Which tense is that? Present tense. Answer again immediately. Active voice or passive voice? Third one. Tell me in active voice. Imagine the subject is we. We see the group. We see the group is active voice. The group is seen by us. By us we don't mention. Present tense, passive voice. Please write. The group is seen as a more egalitarian version. Means what? All are equal, no differences whatsoever. Egalitarian version or concept of the G7. Another group, G7. What is the difference between G7 and G20? One thing you can say number, 720, but not that way. G7, affluent countries, affluent societies. Affluent means what? Rich. G20, developing countries. That is a difference. The group is seen as a more egalitarian version of the G7 as it includes the leadership of the developing world. As I said, G20 goes with developing countries. I will spend 2 minutes, then you understand. Usually what happens when it comes to the editorial, you don't have the background information, so you cannot comprehend. When underline the word developing or 2 words, developing world. I don't know how many of you know, generally we say India is a developing country. We also say India is a third world country. When we say India is a third world country, you have to get the doubt, what is the first world, what is the second world? Obviously, yes or no? First world is industrially developed capitalist countries. The US, the UK, France, Germany, all these. Second world, industrially developed communist countries. Russia, former USSR, and many European countries. Communist countries, industrially developed. And the third world, either developing or underdeveloped from 3 continents. Latin America or South America, Africa and Asian countries, developing or underdeveloped. But India is a developing country. Many African countries are underdeveloped. Many Latin American and Asian countries are developing countries, but both are called third world countries. Now you got the meaning. India is a leadership of the developing world and is now the preeminent forum, means what? Very important forum of the developing world. Developing world, for them this is an important group, important forum. Forum means what? Platform. Write the meaning of the word forum. In this context it means platform. Forum for Global Economic Cooperation. The leadership of the developing world and is now the preeminent forum for what? For global economic cooperation. At the start of its presidency last December, when did India take charge? As a last year, December. That's what you have to understand. At the start of its presidency last December, it was clear that India would be hamstrung by several events. Here I said hamstring is a verb. What is the past form? Hamstrung. Past participle also hamstrung. Underline would be hamstrung. Tell me, is it active voice or passive voice? Passive voice. Please write passive voice. Would be hamstrung. You have the clue, the preposition by several events. Means the hands would be tied, they would be restricted. The global economic headwinds means what? The strong opposing winds or opposition, you can say. Exacerbated means what? Made worse. Already bad, made worse by what? By the COVID-19 pandemic. You all know that. Made a devastating impact on the entire world, not one particular country. It did not distinguish between the first world, the second world, the third world. All the people around the world got affected, all the countries got affected. Here it talks about the same. Meant a challenging environment for New Delhi. So New Delhi had a challenging environment in ensuring that all countries were willing to contribute resources for imperatives. Imperative means something important. But write two more words. Write the word crucial. Imperative, one word usually I give crucial, another word I give vital, and a simple word important. Here it is in the plural form. Imperatives, important elements or dimensions. It talks about the global economic headwinds exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic meant a challenging environment for New Delhi in ensuring that all countries were willing to contribute resources for imperatives such as climate finance. What is important here? One is climate finance and investment in health and poverty alleviation. Whenever groups come together, nowadays, obvious topics in the agenda. One is climate change. The other one, many underdeveloped countries, countries that belong to the third world. If you go to Africa, millions of people cannot afford to have 3 meals. In our country also, but the percentage is minuscule. But Africa, they die because of famine, no food. You all know that. Very backward. And someone has to help them. So they talk about poverty alleviation. We got the word alleviation many a time. That's why I haven't brought the meaning. Assuage, mitigate, alleviate, reduce. So no point in bringing the meaning, familiar word. What are the important aspects? One is contributions towards climate finance or climate change and investment in health. Because of COVID-19, one topic has come into the limelight. What is the topic? Public health. You will get as a passage in the exam. Please make a note. Public health is very important. Another 5 years down the line, you may get as a passage. And the third one, poverty alleviation, common goal. Now we have the third problem. One problem is, what is the first one? Global economic headwinds. In Western countries right now, some countries, they are experiencing a recession. How many of you know the meaning of the word recession? See, I am not doing at a lower level, I am doing at a higher level, so I want you guys to respond. Recession means what? Low economic activity. It's a cycle. Starts in the west, comes to the east, goes around the world, happens once in 15 years. So based on that, they have used Global economic headwinds, first problem. And what is the second problem? Made worse by COVID-19. And what is the third problem right now? Still the problem is there more than 1 year. The Ukraine war. The Ukraine conflict and the sanctions against Russia were next, practically splitting the G20 down the middle. G20 we have Russia, we have China, and obviously they are on one side, other countries one side. Those who support the Ukraine, those who don't support Russia, and those who are neutral. India, I think, taken a neutral stand, splitting the G20 down the middle. This made forging a joint statement, produce a joint statement, even last year difficult. So because of that, difficult to give a common statement or a joint statement. Whenever there is a meeting, the heads of the nations come out and give a presentation or a statement to the media. You got one word last week, tell me what is that? It begins with the letter C. It is called communique. Remember, communique. A statement given to the media by the head of a country. So not possible now against the backdrop, but the Indonesian President Joko Widodo was able to ensure a tenuous consensus. Tenuous means strong or weak. A weak consensus by traveling to Moscow and Kyiv and enlisting India's support. So someone is trying to do something, but not very strong, weak. India's presidency also came amidst, underline the preposition amidst. You can also use midst, means what? In the middle of, surrounded by. In the middle of what? Continuing bilateral tensions with China over its border moves. Now we have a problem with China along the border, a line of actual control. This has become an additional problem for India's G20 Sherpa team. Here Sherpa team means what? Appointed by the government to assist the delegates or represent the country and try to build some sort of consensus. So not easy. Additional problem for India's G20 Sherpa team, as China has played spoiler. Underline has played spoiler. Has played, which tense is that? Present perfect. Has played spoiler, means they try to spoil. At many a meeting, underline the expression many a meeting, an important expression. We can also say below that or above that you write at many meetings. At many meetings. Please write that. At many meetings, at many a meeting, both mean the same. Many students, many a student. But this one is an important expression, already have taught many a time. And in many exams I have given the phrase. This is a phrase. Please write the phrase. What is the phrase? Many a. This is an important phrase. Why? The phrase many a takes a singular verb and a singular noun. I hope you are listening attentively. In one exam they gave a question, many a birds have visited the sanctuary. Right or wrong? What is the correct sentence? Many a bird has visited the sanctuary. We have to use a singular verb or singular noun. And important, many students don't know that. So do remember, many a meeting. The government's decision to hold the G20 summit 2 months early instead of in November, that means what? They preponed. By how many months? 2 months. The practice has given officials less time to ensure the leader's declaration is ready. So 2 months before, they did not have sufficient time to give the statement. Some of the heavy lifting on building consensus will now be left to Prime Minister Narendra Modi to handle. So consensus is a major problem right now because supporting Ukraine, supporting Russia, obviously they are divided. When there are two teams divided on a particular issue, can you expect consensus? And the war is still on. That is very surprising. Now we'll go to the second part of the editorial. In the face of such odds, underline such odds. Such odds are positive or negative? Negative. Chances are very bleak. Chances are less. In the face of, also underline the phrase in the face of. Such odds, India's approach to ensure the vitality of the G20 process. Vitality means the strength, the energy of the G20 process have been valiant. Underline one unit. Tell me immediately which tense is this? Present perfect. Active voice or passive voice? Please write passive voice. Have been valiant and also a well thought out one. Now here efforts, underline the word efforts, I will correct it. Put the words to ensure the vitality 1 unit. Please do what I say. First you underline the word efforts. Underline to ensure the vitality 1 unit, below you write praise. Then you underline of the G20 process, write praise 2. Efforts have been valiant. Here it is in present perfect active voice. Valiant is an adjective, brave. So what is it is not in passive voice, please correct. Present perfect active voice. I will give an easy pattern. She has been the student. What is the word student? Noun. She has been brave. What is the word brave? Adjective. Same pattern, have been valiant. And also a well thought out one. Underline the expression well thought out one. Means carefully considered. Mr. Modi made it clear from the beginning that India would not take sides in the Ukraine conflict. India has remained from day one neutral and instead focused on issues affecting the global south, holding a summit of developing countries, putting issues of food, fertilizer and energy security, multilateral reform and global governance above geopolitical issues. Lengthy sentence but easy to understand. The Prime Minister of our country did not focus on the geopolitical issues. What is the geopolitical issue here? The Ukraine war. So instead of taking a stand related to the war, he focused on better things. What are the better things in this context? He focused on issues related to food, fertilizer, energy security, multilateral reform and global governance. Obviously a good stand has been taken by the country and the Prime Minister. India even hosted the Voice of the Global South Summit. That's also a good thing. Mr. Modi also championed, underline the word champion. Answer my question, champion in this context, is it a noun or a verb? It's a verb, but generally what is the word champion? Noun. Here champion means to support or to advocate a particular cause or support a cause or talk in favor of a particular cause, a particular issue. Support an issue, you can say. Mr. Modi also championed the induction of the African Union into the G20. And he supported the idea of including induction of the African Union into the G20, which will be a feather in India's cap. Put a star mark there. If it goes through, if it materializes. What is the meaning of the idiom, a feather in India's cap? Please write one more accomplishment. One more accomplishment. I'll give an example you understand. Imagine Virat Kohli already many centuries. One more century. Then what do you say? Another feather in his cap. One more feather in his cap. One more distinction in his cap. This has been given more than 5 times in SBI. So do remember an important one. Internally, the Indian G20 presidency has been marked by a distinct effort to democratize the process by holding 220 meetings across 60 Indian cities, which though colossally expensive, they try to bring that concept of democratic approach to substantiate or justify. They conducted meetings. How many meetings? Holding 220 meetings, where across 60 Indian cities. Holding 220 meetings across 60 cities, you have to spend a lot of money. Based on that, colossally expensive. Colossal means what? Huge, enormous, expensive. Has ensured, but result is what? Has ensured, present perfect, a showcasing of India's diversity. They could show the world, India is a country of unity in diversity. People could make out. India's G20 moment is already memorable, but the days ahead will be crucial in cementing its legacy. Already memorable, positive, but future will decide whether it can consolidate. Underline the word cementing. Cement here means what? Consolidate. Consolidate what? India is a country with rich legacy. So consolidate its legacy. That legacy hinges on, depends on ensuring a truce among its practice members that allows for a consensus over the vision of one earth, one family, one future in the next few days. A nice editorial, you have to read twice, thrice. There's every possibility to get something like this as a passage. Once you have the contextual awareness, easy to answer. Have you gone through the questions and answers? Yesterday I gave the handout, and try to read, you don't have to write. 1 week, no need to write, but you have to read. I hope you have read. No response. Thank you. Let us go to idioms. New idiom, I think you got yesterday. I don't know how many of you spent time. You have already spent time, you can answer within no time. So what is the first one here? Did we work on all these exercises? Did we work yesterday? No. Why someone says yes? Please respond. Did we work on these exercises yesterday? From yes or no? Please answer the first one. Natural talent for gardening and cultivating plants. B is the answer. Please write B. B is what? Green thumb. But there you write one more expression, one more idiom. Green fingers. Please write that. Green fingers. What is the difference, you may ask? Make a note. Green thumb, American English. And green fingers, British English. Do we follow American English or British English? Then from the exam point of view, you have to remember green thumb or green fingers. Put a star mark that one. Put off confronting a difficult issue. Put off means what? Postpone. If postpone facing a difficult issue, what is the idiom? I did one editorial the other day related to the Himalayan region fragile ecosystem. The last sentence, the writer used this one. Some students also asked, so what does it mean? Now you get the answer. Tell me which option. E is the answer. What is E here? Kick the can down the road. It was used in the editorial. Kick the can down the road means avoid facing a difficult problem. What is visible or known is just a small part of a much larger hidden issue. Tip of the iceberg. A is the answer. Uncomfortable or out of place. Imagine you have never gone abroad. For the first time you landed in New York City. New York City is the ultimate city when it comes to the hustle and bustle of a city. Noisy, quick pace. How do you feel? You feel fish out of water. Means uncomfortable. So what is the answer here? C is the answer. Deeply involved in a complex or challenging situation. What are you left with? D. But I brought it intentionally. All of you write the word. Please do it quickly. First you write the word weed. Answer my question. Which part of speech is it? First you write noun. As a noun, what does it mean? Unwanted plant. Write the meaning also. Unwanted plant in a garden. A lot of weeds in the garden. There are two words you have to know, exam point of view, very important. These two words, as a noun, negative meaning, as a verb, positive meaning. First one is weed. Again you write the word weed and write a verb. As a verb, positive meaning. What does it mean? Remove the weeds. I will give the example, then you understand. First you write the meaning. Remove the weeds. Sometimes people may say, I weeded the garden. I weeded the garden means what? Remove the weeds from the garden. So this is the first one. Have you copied? Second one also very important. Many of you may not know. First you write the word dust. Bracket you write noun. If I say there's a lot of dust on the bench, is it a noun or a verb? Noun. You all know this. And again you write the word dust, bracket you write verb. And write the example. I dusted the bench. I dusted the bench. I dusted the bench means what? I removed the dust from the bench. Positive meaning. Noun negative, verb positive. Shall we go to the second exercise? Error location, not easy. You got to read carefully. Please read the first one. The destruction wreaked by the floods in North India in August evoked concern at the highest levels. Which part you tell me? First part. Nothing wrong with the first part. Does anyone say there is a problem in the third part? Raise your hands. What is the problem? Or I'll give the choice. Will you say evoked or has evoked? Then you may ask, first you write that. You may ask, sir, August is there, how can we use present perfect? Underline has evoked. Which tense is that? Actually here, the destruction wreaked by the floods in North India in August, that is one thing. There August goes with the destruction. August, past, destruction, that clause wreaked, it is in the past. But based on that past incident, something happened. For the second clause, there is no time phrase. And no time phrase, past action, which tense are you supposed to use? Present perfect. Based on that, I'll make it easy for you. Please put the words wreaked by the floods in North India in August, all these words in brackets. Now read the sentence. The destruction evoked concern at the highest levels. This talks about a past action, no time phrase, then you have to use past tense or present perfect. Present perfect. That's it. Go to the next one. It is a concept derived to population biology and generally refers to the quantity of a species that can thrive sustainably in a defined ecosystem. Derived to or derived from? Please mark it wrong. The verb derived takes a preposition from. Go to the third one. Going by recent history, it is unlikely that a disinterested scientific opinion shall be palatable to every stakeholder in the Himalayan states. Here, what is the subject? Underline the word opinion, disinterested scientific opinion, that is the subject, noun phrase, but what is the key word? Opinion. Opinion singular or plural? And it refers to future or present or past? Future. And there is an important rule that goes with all the future tenses. What is that rule? We use will or shall with first person singular and plural. I, we. Other pronouns we should use only will. So what is the right word here? Shall or will? Will be palatable. Easy one. Question number 4. They failed to restrict road widening projects and the carving up of mountain sides in ways that were deemed unsuitable for the topography. There is an error. This is purely based on contextual awareness. I will tell the context. Context talks about doing something to the mountains. Doing what? One is road widening projects. Already have read hydropower projects and carving up of mountain sides. We are talking about multiple activities. Then you have to use a plural noun. Here, in way is not correct. Add the letter S. Then what do you get? In way or in ways? In ways that were deemed unsuitable. Now you understand the context. You cannot say in way that were. Underline the plural verb. Ways that were deemed unsuitable for the topography. Easy if you know the context. Go to the next one, the last one. I will take the session till 9:50. Is that okay? Fine. The Environment Ministry had in May reminded all the states to undertake such a study and submit them as early as possible. To undertake, an easy one for a change, to make you happy. To undertake or to undertake? Now let us go to, first we'll work on the phrasal verbs, because only 3. There is a sentence, each sentence with a blank, 3 options, choose appropriate phrasal verb. If we continue to fossil fuels at this rate, we will face an energy crisis. How many of you say B? Very good, that is the answer. Please write, use up. B is the answer. And what is the next one? The government plans to, yesterday some students got confused between the second and the third. Tell me what is the answer. How many of you say cut down? Raise your hands. How many of you say phase out? Raise your hands. Answer is phase out. Underline single plastic bags. You cannot remove single plastic bags one shot. You have to phase out. Phase out means what? Slowly you have to decrease. And what is the last one? We need to cut down on our paper usage. Why? To save trees. Cut down on. Who has got all the three correct? Good. Let us go to Crow's test. A familiar context, you should get all correct. But some students could not handle this also. Read the first one. The very first one, they went off their track. You all have the handout, so you don't have to. The crisis of land experienced in Joshimath, Uttarakhand in January. Immediate. Subsidence, wonderful. Subsidence means what? Caving in, the road going down, forming a concave structure. The crisis of land subsidence experienced in Joshimath, Uttarakhand in January had also sparked a debate. Remember all the words together. Spark what? A debate. Easy to remember. On the conflict between infrastructure development and ecology. But in a matter of months, Himachal Pradesh saw an unexpected. What is a clue for you? Underline washing away. When there are floods, things get washed away. So what is the right word here? Deluge. Deluge means floods, washing away roads and highways built on what sort of mountains? Denuding mountains. Here answer is denuding. E is the answer. Denude means what? Remove the top layer. Top layer you remove, denude. Denuding mountains. More committees and reports will not change the reality that infrastructure development in the hills cannot be executed as in the plains. Plains are different, hills are different. What is the last one? Either states must bear the higher cost that comes from building more sustainably and minimizing the risk to whom? Denizens. Generally we use the word inhabitants. What is the word we use? Inhabitants. Local people, indigenous people, aboriginals, all words you have to recollect. But for the first time we have come across the word denizens. Is that the last exercise? Have you done with all the exercises? Fine. My only request to you guys, I am giving you enough time to raise your standards. On your own you cannot write the answers. Anyone across the country, not only you. On your own you cannot write about the editorial. So we have to go from easy to difficult, simple to complex, interesting to not that interesting. So what is easy to difficult path? You have the questions, you have the answers, you have the summary of the editorial. Spend 1 week every day, you get an idea how to write the answers, how to write about the editorial. After 1 week, you should be able to write. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.